This is how we're going to be speaking to the CEO of event production company One Vibe Media, Mr. Simon Javan OKELO. Now, Simon is the founder of MADARAKA Festival, and he'll be talking to us about the upcoming shows featuring Sauti Sol, King Kaka, and Uganda's Eddie Kenzo. And we want you to stay tuned because we also have a few other artists who are going to be live on set. We want you to stay tuned to find out who they are. And I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. It's Friday the 28th of April, and we are streaming live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. So please remember to subscribe to our OneMicShow YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at OneMicShow and also on Facebook. On panel with me is Mr. One Mike Kamakawa. Our sports anchor Mika Och will be joining us live via Zoom. And our resident DJ Omoshfire is the one who's been live on the decks, and he will be in charge of the music as the show goes on. And tonight we're going to get started right away because we have so much to cover. Now, music concerts in the U.S. featuring African artists have grown in leaps and bounds in the last decade. A while back, it was not uncommon to see award-winning African artists performing in dimly lit pubs or repurposed restaurants to crowds of less than 100 people. Now, with growth in popularity of the Afrobeat genre, African artists are now filling air-conditioned auditoriums across the US and Europe, competing with the best in the world. Now, this popular wave, however, is yet to benefit East African artists. The lion's share of success has shone bright on Afrobeat artists from Nigeria. Now, in the past few weeks, ads for an upcoming event dubbed the MADARAKA Festival have been making rounds across social media. Now, this festival will be moving across several U.S. cities and is set to feature Kenyan band Sauti Sol and King Kaka of Kaka Empire. Now, the star-studded lineup will also include Uganda's Eddie Kenzo, Dre's from Zimbabwe, Anthony Cole from Trinidad, amongst a plethora of a lot of other African artists. Now, the event is also set to feature a high-profile DJ lineup headlined by Dallas Mavericks official DJ Miss Ivy Owino, a.k.a. DJ Poison Ivy. Now, the MADARAKA Festival is also set to kick off on the 16th of May in New York City's Irving Plaza and will then move to Atlanta's Buckhead Theater on the 21st of May. On the 24th of May, the festival will grace Dallas, Texas Pre-Memorial at the House of Blues. And then it will then climax in Seattle, Washington's Benaroya Hall on the 26th of May. And for tickets, you want to go to MADARAKAFestival.com. So make sure you pay attention to that, MADARAKAFestival.com. And as we speak, more cities are being added to the lineup. So keep it locked to find out if the MADARAKA train will be making a stop in a city near you. Now on the show tonight, to help us understand, digest, and make sense of the MADARAKA Festival is its founder, Simon Javan OKELO. Now, Simon has a background in music production and DJing, and he is the CEO of event production and digital media company One Vibe Media. Now, since moving to the US in 2010, Simon has organized digital campaigns and events celebrating the African diaspora. He was featured on a CNN series for creators called African Avant-Garde on his role producing the MADARAKA Festival. Simon, karibu sana to the One Mic Show. Can you hear us?
Yes, very clearly. Thank you so much, Ali and your team for having us. This is truly an incredible opportunity. I'm just so honored to be here. I'm very proud of the work that you do and how you bring our community here in the diaspora through the OneMicShow platform. Thank you so much.
All right, asante sana, Simon. Now, I've known Simon is that last year's MADARAKA Festival at Seattle's Waterfront Park had an attendance of more than 10,000 people, which just shows that you're a big deal. Now, I want you to tell us, just as we get warmed up here and as you get started, as people are getting to know you, I want you to tell us, who are these 10,000 people and how come most Kenyans in the U.S., or at least part of our audience, are hearing about you for the first time? Simon, please talk to us.
Thank you so much. First of all, last year was the most successful MADARAKA Festival, but it was not the first one. The first one, Dre's, who is here on the show with us today, was amongst the surprise artists. Dre's is a big artist when it comes to the African diaspora. But similar to me, very few people know him. but he's been touring since he was like 8 years old. He's toured every country in the world, So a lot of the time, good things take time, good things take time, and even good food takes time to be cooked. So a lot of the time when it's on the table, those who don't understand what was happening in the kitchen enjoy it, but they don't really understand, the spices in it. They don't understand that the chef was being burned in the kitchen. So right now, Madaraka Festival is on the table, but this is the 9th year of the Madaraka Festival, and so from 2014 to last year, it was primarily bringing the African diaspora to Seattle. In 2019, it happened in Kenya, in Kisumu, at Kisumu Beach Resort, and I would say Madaraka is making a Kenyan name. Madaraka Holiday, June 1st. A Pan-African, event, So it's embraced by incredible artists from across the world. Last year was headlined by D'banj, who is one of the fathers of Afrobeat, So I would say, Kenyans are very proud of the work that we've been doing with Madaraka Festival. And I just feel that now is the time for the entire Kenyan community globally, not just here in the US, to help us bring Madaraka to the global stage, similar to what Kenyan athletes are doing. We now want to bring Kenya, brand Kenya as the home of music, as the place where African musicians also find refuge, because especially East and Southern African musicians who rarely tour the US in a professional way, the way Madaraka Festival has been doing. If you look at the history of Madaraka Festival, we value live music, we value the quality of what we present, So we took a while to cook this, and I'm so happy that Anthony was also, one of the artists that performed last year. So everyone who is on the show today has some form of history with Madaraka Festival. Anthony was also an attendee of Madaraka Festival for years before he even became an artist. So it's a festival that when you look at the behind the scene of it, you find that the stage manager for this year's festival was probably a DJ last year. You find that the person who is doing logistics was probably an artist 2 years ago. So it's really something that brings the village together, and I'm really, really proud that it's a Kenyan platform that was built by Kenyans, but for the motherland, for the entire African people of African descent across the diaspora.
Okay, asante sana, Simon Javan OKELO. That's Simon right there. Like we're just getting started here. Like I told you earlier, Meli Envy the People's Kamkunji inangoa nanga. And we're gonna let the other guests out here with us who maybe don't speak Swahili. We let them know what Meli Kungoananga means. But I want to welcome, our listeners. I can see Washeke Ndirangu, Karibu Sana. I can see Afro-Jamaican is already here on Facebook with us, Karibu Sana. We're having an issue with YouTube, so tell all those friends of viewers who wanted to watch it on YouTube to jump onto Facebook because we're having a slight issue with YouTube. We're going to try to rectify it. I also want to welcome I can see Amina Holmes, Karibu Sana. Aida Alicia, welcome all the way from North Carolina. And we can see Suga Shambi, we welcome you to the OneMicShow. This is going to be very exciting. And I can also see Felix Calvins, welcome to the OneMicShow. I don't know whether those are emojis of bottles, or I'm not very fluent in emoji. Suga Shambi has some fire emojis, those ones I understand. And Felix has some emojis. Maybe someone can school me on what those emojis are. And all those who have questions for Simon, feel free to type them up right now. Madaraka Festival is coming up. He's going to be giving us some details on what Madaraka Festival is about. But I want to quickly go to the other guests who are there alongside Simon. We have... we're going to get started with, we have an artist who's going to be performing at the Madaraka Festival. His name is Anthony Cole from Trinidad. Anthony Cole, can you hear us?
Yes. One mic. So happy to be here.
All right, there we go. Are you in Trini back there? I can see, the sunlight. I can see the trees. I can see. Are you in Trini?
No, no, I wish. I was there for Carnival earlier in the year, but I'm in Seattle, sunny Seattle.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. So tell us a bit about yourself. You know, the audience may not know who you are. Tell us what you do and what your background with the MADARAKA Festival. Anthony.
Sure, sure. So happy to be here. Nice to meet everyone. My name is Anthony Cole. I'm originally from the Caribbean nation of Trinidad and Tobago, home of Calypso Carnival and Steel Pan music. And I am a dancehall, soca, and reggae singer. So I compose a lot of music in that style. I just recently launched a EP called Good Vibes Only. So it's been doing really, really well. I was able to go to Trinidad and perform this past Carnival. So definitely check it out. Definitely check that out. And it's really a privilege to be part of the MADARAKA family. You know, last year I was able to perform. It was just a really great experience. I also was representing the Amazon Black Employee Network. And supporting the festival in that capacity as well, and you know, just really happy to be able to, you know, share some good vibes and good energy around this important initiative to just show the diversity of the African diaspora and you know, allow people to experience that. So just really happy to be part of all of that.
Freaking Sony.
Okay, I think we're losing you, Anthony. I don't know whether you can. Okay, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you guys.
Okay.
Guys able to hear me?
All right, yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, and thank you so much. So it looks like the MADARAKA Festival will be having a very diverse cast. It's not only going to be Kenyans, there's going to be Africans, or there's going to be artists from everywhere. And apologies if we call you African, because whether you like it or not, as a Trinidadian, you are African. You know, so sometimes people get a little bit jittery when we talk about Africans. Africans just means anyone black across the whole entire world, regardless of where you're living, whether you live in Trinidad, in Jamaica, or whether you live in Nicaragua. If you're black, you're African. We also have another artist on set here. His name is Draze. He's a hip-hop artist from Zimbabwe. Draze, welcome to the One Mic Show. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Oh, loud and clear, loud and clear. So, Draze, just talk to us, tell us who you are, and tell us your background with the MADARAKA Festival.
And you can speak in Swahili.
I got you back, man. I'm gonna do. Hey, you guys got to teach me some word before I leave, man. I can't come in here and just, you know what I mean, and just talk and kick it without some sort of cultural exchange. But as you guys said, man, my name is Draze, also known as Dumisani Maraire Jr. I am the son of the legendary marimba player Dumisani Maraire Sr., who is credited with bringing marimba and mbira music to America. So as Simon said earlier, I've been performing Zimbabwean music my whole life. I've traveled the world, Korea, Japan, all through Europe, touring ever since I was a child, playing marimba music. And then recently, about a decade ago, I actually moved down to Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, I've been a songwriter. So I write music for television shows in Hollywood. I have over 6,000 placements on television shows like Empire, Love and Hip Hop, Who Killed Sarah, everything from Netflix to Amazon, any channel and television station you can think of. I've been writing music for those. And then recently I put out a new single that's from my upcoming album. The single is called Majrita, which means thank you in Shona. And so I put out Majrita recently. It's actually number 8 on the charts in Zimbabwe right now. Damn. So I'm excited about that. And so Majrita is really bubbling because it features marimba music. And so I have a new album coming out that fuses all Zimbabwean music with hip hop to create a new sound that I call ancestral art. And so I'm really passionate about a couple of things, some of the stuff you guys have already mentioned about what's happening in Kenya, but also in Zimbabwe, because Southern African artists often don't get shine around the world or get to tour. I talk with so many Zimbabwean artists who feel that same way. And so MADARAKA Festival creates a dope opportunity for us because Simon, with his vision, is taking artists who may not typically get shine and allowing them to present their music to America. I confidently say Afrobeat is dope, But at the end of the day, Africa has so many other sounds. And so what does it look like for us to pull all these unique, different sounds and give them an opportunity to shine all throughout America? I'm excited, man. This festival is going to be so dope, and it's going to touch so many people.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dre's. And now we want to quickly come back to Simon Javan OKELO, the founder of MADARAKA Festival. And I can see questions already coming in. Juno Buru, all the way from North Carolina, is asking, did Simon already come on? I needed a few things clarified. So Juno Buru, please type up your question, and Simon is here to clarify everything for you. Now, Simon, real quick, just give us briefly, just a brief background of yourself before the MADARAKA Festival. Who was Simon before MADARAKA Festival?
Before the dreads.
Well, thank you again. There are a number of audience members that I have a lot of love and respect for. So shout out to Ida, Alicia, who actually connected us to Ali and the entire crew that is hosting us here today. And then Suga Shambi, and there's a lot of people involved with MADARAKA who are watching the show now. Thank you for all the support that you're giving me. I grew up in Kisumu, right next to Lake Victoria. I grew up in Manyata, which is, the largest slum in Kisumu, but one of the largest in Kenya. And my mother started an orphanage home in 1997. She was a second wife in a polygamist marriage. So I grew up really supporting her. My older brother was involved with a lot of gang-related activities. So I ended up really playing a big role in, supporting my mother with her businesses. Even though she worked for the Ministry of Health in Kenya, she was always doing multiple things to support us. So in the midst of the HIV epidemic in Kenya, our home became a sanctuary for many children that had lost their parents. And so that's where I learned the value of, creating space for other people. But also in 2008, right after the post-election violence in Kenya, at the end of 2007, I was a DJ, actually. I was a reggae DJ. That's where the dreads came from. And, I was involved with Metro FM. Junior Dread was really one of my mentors, Fanya or Fanya Mambo. He was one of my mentors in the reggae industry. People like Papa Bingi are some of the people that inspire me. Until today, they're very excited about what we're doing with MADARAKA Festival. So, from growing up in Manyata to, spending some time in Nairobi, I learned that music was more powerful than just showbiz, So when we did the music concert after the post-election violence in 2008, we were able to raise a lot of money and feed the kids in my mother's orphanage home for an entire year. And that was just a group of DJs from Kisumu and Nairobi coming together, especially because, things were hard in Kisumu after the post-election violence. Most of you who are watching this, who understand the politics in Kenya, after every 5 years, there's always a stalemate. There's always, that's when tribalism becomes so eminent, So, I learned that I could use my passion in music and the influence I had to transform our community. So, from realizing that the money we are making from showbiz could actually feed children, I also learned that we could actually provide an alternative to the violence, because the politicians in Kenya, as the Kenyans who are watching this know very well, they give young people money to buy drugs and alcohol and machetes so that they can literally kill each other. So I felt that, what about if we bought DJ equipment? What about if we bought music instruments and gave them to the same youth? Would they still go out in the street? So if you go to Kisumu now, you will find that we have a 3-story building. We own the entire space, the land and the building. And it was the orphanage home that my mother started in 1997. Now we've changed it to a creative hub, We have a production studio for music, a film production studio. All of this is money from the MADARAKA Festival. So the first MADARAKA Festival that was headlined by Mark Lemo and Ryan Lewis, Drez was there. Drez, who is on the show right now. We used that money to buy equipments here in Seattle. We traveled to Kenya with these equipments. We also traveled with artists who performed at MADARAKA. The second year we did that, the third year. So if you go to that space now, you will not believe what you will see. And now we've employed, you know, thousands of youths are benefiting from the work that we're doing. Some of them are literally, you know, touring Europe as we speak, you know. If you all know Apesi is a Benga artist, he's a beneficiary of our program. Gabiro,
wow. I know Apesi very, very well. In fact, I was with him in, I think, 2 years ago in December in Kisumu. But
so he learned how to play guitar at OneVibe. His very first guitar teacher was Shamir from Kibera.
Yes.
You know, he's a direct beneficiary of our program, you know. So there are many. But the thing is, even me playing the Nyatiti that is behind me, I learned through that program because we brought elders with young people, you know, because I love our culture. I'm very proud of being an African. And so the best way to, you know, embrace your culture is to actually live it, you know. So while here in the diaspora, you know, the only way we can embrace our Africanness is to live it fully. So with Madaraka Festival, you know, it's an extension of who I am. You know, with OneVibe Media, it's an extension of who I am. I feel that when we go back to our parents, you know, our ancestors, you know, they never had 9-to-5 jobs. You know, they lived their identity. You know, if they were farmers, you know, their whole life was about farming. If they were fishermen, their whole life was about fishing, you know. And so I'm just bringing who I am on a day-to-day basis to form the career and the events and everything that I do.
Okay, thank you so much, Simon. And a few comments coming in here. You know, like I see Sugashambi is calling out June for being a late comer. June, we are still waiting for your question. And then let me see. June says, big up to your mom for being a humanitarian. And then Ida Alicia is happy to be part of this great connection. We thank you so much, Ida Alicia. DJ Sunny Sistuki is in the building. When DJ Sistuki is in the building,
I'm a Stuka.
Yes, that's when you know. I know. Drez was saying, you know, like he needs to, you know, get some cultural exchange, learn some Swahili. There's a Swahili saying that goes like, Mbiula mgambo likilia, kuna jambo. I don't even know if there's equivalent English to that. You know, and DJ Sunny Sistuki, when DJ Sunny Sistuki shows up, you know that that's Mbiula mgambo. Na Mbiula mgambo likilia, kuna jambo. I think an easy translation would be, wow, you know, some of these sayings are so deep that they don't even have any direct translations to English. But it's kind of like when you hear something Mbiula mgambo, you know, when you hear like a loud noise or like a loud bang, it means it's something that's about to go down. And that's DJ Sunny Sistuki. So DJ Sunny Sistuki, thank you so much for joining us. And then also Sugashambi is piggybacking on what you said, tribalism, and now Mackenzie and Ezekiel killing us and buying us. We're going to be talking about that in the social hour. So stay tuned for that. Muhia Gitanga Karibu Sana. And then, you know, Robert Mugabe. Remember, Drez, I told you, Robert Mugabe is in the building. And Robert Mugabe says, so today we have a real Zimbabwean. So you're going to ask him some questions to see if he's really Robert Mugabe or what. But
yeah, I promise you it's not Robert Mugabe, but that's okay.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. We can't confirm
this
that.
This guy swears he is. In fact,
he swears he is.
He even has quotes.
Yeah, you know, he has quotes, you know, like he has the words, you know, like so we don't really know. And then I also see Okada Man Brand, who's also in the building. Karibu sana Okada Man. And then Ida says kuna jambo, where they smoke, there's fire. That's a good equivalent. Yeah. You know, Mbiula mgambo likilia, kuna jambo is where they smoke, there's fire. And then Brenda BK, another one, another Mbiula mgambo. Brenda BK says, that's profound. DJ Sunny Sistuki leta mambo. Brenda BK, pia wewe ni Mbiula mgambo. And then I see here June Oburu saying, I'm so happy to put a name to Simon's face. I'd been seeing the Madaraka Festival online, so I'm excited to see the man behind it. And then Sugashambi is telling Robert Mugabe that yes, is sharing this video, and share the video, please, so that everybody else can get to tune in and know what's going on. Please, please, please share the video. And then let me see what's going on here. I think there's banter going on. I think DJ Sunny Sistuki is gonna be in Houston.
Brenda has threatened Sunny.
Yes, so I think Brenda is taking a record, because you know the OneMicShow is a place of record. So he's putting Sunny on blast to make sure that Sunny is in Houston tomorrow. So make sure you're in Houston, Sunny, if you know what's good for you. I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned in to the OneMicShow, and I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawi. We are talking to Simon Javan OKELO, the CEO of event production company One Vibe Media and the founder of MADARAKA Festival. Also on set with us is Dre's, a hip-hop artist from Zimbabwe, and we have Anthony Cole, a Trinidadian artist, all part of the MADARAKA Festival family. Now, this year's MADARAKA Festival extravaganza is set to kick off in May in New York City, and then it will go to Atlanta, it will go to Dallas, and then to Seattle, Washington, with more venues to be announced. Like Simon is going to be telling us about that. For tickets, please visit MADARAKAFestival.com. Everything is there. Instructions, kila kitu, depending on what festival you want to go to, whether it's New York, whether it's Seattle, all the tickets are there. Now, Simon will shortly be talking to us about the lineup of artists we expect to see. We've already talked to two right here on set, so I want you to stay tuned for that. But before we continue, I quickly want to come back to studio to you, Uno, and I'm just going to ask you, are we going to talk about Pastor Mackenzie and the growth of deadly religious cults in Kenya in the social segment? Ahmad, we skip that for today because this story is just very annoying. Uno, Mike.
This story has so many angles, has got so many... Okay, whatever is going on is bad, but there's always a different angle that this can be looked at, because there's the aspect of religion, there's the aspect of being a cult, cultism,
yeah, cultism. We made up our
and the response to which certain religious so-called leaders or certain religious persons, the effect with which, or how hard the hammer comes down on them, whereas there are others that nothing ever happens to them.
Okay,
like Brother Paul. But we shall see.
You mean Kamlesh Patni?
That one.
And Kamlesh Patni is in Zimbabwe.
He's in Zimbabwe.
I think Dres knows about him. He's been stealing money from Dres' people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Dres will tell you about that.
I think he may have a plot by Dres.
So that is probably an angle we can look at. You know, in as bad as it is bad, but then also now is it that there's a desperation for hope? Is there desperation for hope? People want something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
so that's,
if we have time.
Yes, that's going to be in the social segment. So Askilizaji, stay tuned and jump in the comments. Tell us whether you want us to have a conversation about this or we just continue this exciting conversation. At some point, like the guests we have are going to go. So just let us know that this is a conversation you want to have, or we just keep it for the day. And I want to go back right now to our guests, this is now to all the three of you, but I'm going to start with you, Simon. Maybe just give us a quick background of the MADARAKA Festival, because a lot of people were seeing the MADARAKA Festival for the first time on that flyer. Maybe tell us when it started, how frequently have you been doing it, and at what point did it get to a point where it started hosting very big acts from Africa? Simon, twende kazi.
Asante. So just to touch on the topic you guys were talking about, Pastor Mackenzie, I follow what's going on back home very keenly. I think the challenge we have there is that our people, especially Kenyans, we love success. It doesn't matter how people get there, but we just love successful people and we worship successful people. And so when we see a successful preacher or we see a successful artist, we just want to be like them. We don't care whether we do that and we compromise our integrity. We just want to do it. So all the evil things that we are seeing around this situation is as a result of people just believing in these individuals because they just want to be like these people. And it's something that we really need to sit down with and reflect on and really talk about where we want to go as a country. back to Madaraka Festival. I want to say that Madaraka Festival really, as I was saying, it began in Kenya long before I moved to the US. It was not Madaraka Festival. It was Unite the People concert. The very first one was right after the post-election violence. So I moved to Seattle in June 2010, and I actually first came to the US in 2009 for work. You know, I visited about 8 different states fundraising for a big NGO that I was working for as the field director for Africa. I worked in Liberia, South Sudan, Malawi, you know, Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana. And so I was raising money in the US, and I visited Seattle during that trip. My girlfriend at the time was from Seattle. So I ended up moving here in 2010. When I moved here, I moved with the ideas that I already had in Kenya, where we were already using music to bring people together, to gather resources, you know, raise money, mobilize people to give us the equipment that we needed. So we were sitting at a living room here in Seattle, where what I was doing is whenever I went back to Kenya, I would create videos of the work that we were doing, the music programs that we were running, and I would go to people's living room. I would make Kenyan dinners, and I would show them the videos that this is the work we are doing in Kenya. What ideas do you have of how we can grow this into something big, something major? So we were sitting in the living room of a brother of ours. His name is Owora Runga. Shout out to him. He's a Grammy-winning trumpet player. And so in his mother's living room, where we were sitting brainstorming of how can we take this One Vibe idea, One Vibe Africa idea to the next level. And at the time, he was touring the world with Macklemore and Ryan Lewis. And his photographer, the photographer for the same artist that Owora Runga was working with, was called Joseph Koenig. I had been with him in Kenya long before I moved to the US. And so both of them suggested that we ask Macklemore, who was really doing well at the time. He had just won a Grammy Award. And they said, look, if we all ask Macklemore to headline Madaraka Festival, you know, June was approaching. And so we said, since Madaraka is approaching, let's just call it Madaraka Festival and not Unite the People concert the way it used to be called in Kenya. And so that's when the name Madaraka Festival came about, because June was approaching and we had the need to actually fundraise. So in 2014 is when we did the first Madaraka Festival. It was in May, but very close to June 1st. So when we did that first Madaraka Festival at the Museum of Pop Culture, right in Seattle Center, it was very successful. And this is a venue where Drez is also is an entrepreneur. Besides being an artist, he organizes Through the Eyes of Art, which is another big African festival here in Seattle every February. So we used the same venue, you know. And so Madaraka Festival was something that surprised our community, the African community here. You know, people have never seen African people lining up and rounding a building with excitement that, you know, this is our event. We are ready for this. So people are really surprised by how many African people actually lived here. So the success of that event and the impact that we made, you know, through that event lives until now. So since then, we've created a community. Every year since 2014, we've held Madaraka Festival. Even during the pandemic, we held Madaraka Festival. And, you know, Drez has interacted with this growth a lot. Okay. And so for me, I would say that those who are learning about Madaraka Festival are just on time, you know, but there are people who are, you know, hardcore fans of Madaraka Festival. For example, in 2019, we still did it, but it was in Kenya at Kisumu Beach Resort. We had over 4,500 people. Calligraph Jones was the headliner. Okay. You know, Ben Soul, who is from the Sauti Soul, label, was also one of the headliners. Eric Omondi was the host in 2019 in Kenya. So we tested it in different places. In Seattle, in 2021, it was held at the Bellevue Youth Theater, which is like 10 minutes from Bill Gates' house and Jeff Bezos' house, you know. So we've tested this concept in different places. What I've me to talk about the challenges and some of the things I've learned?
Now we're going to get to that.
You want me to just talk about?
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that challenge part. But I think right now we want an artist's perspective, and like you said, Drez, has been part of this journey. Maybe Drez can talk to us about the artist part. And the other thing, Drez, I want you to talk to us about is before we get to Kamlesh Patni, because Kamlesh Patni might be stealing your money in Zimbabwe. We're going to tell you who he is. But I want you to tell us, how the MADARAKA Festival has been for you as an artist and for artists generally. And then I also, want you to talk about how much do Zimbabweans, for example, interact with Kenyan music, like we're talking about an intercultural exchange, or maybe what needs to be done to make this more frequent, even for Kenyans to interact with Zimbabwean music. Drez.
Yeah, great question. I'll start backwards. I'll start with kind of how we can make this intercultural thing happen. I think it's incredibly important. Even now, I'm trying to lead the charge in Seattle, Washington. I'm trying to create partnerships between the radio stations in Zimbabwe and the radio stations, the independent radio stations like KXP in Seattle, trying to set these DJs and these people up to create connections. And in doing that, we're opening doors for other artists from Zimbabwe to be heard in Seattle, right? It's a step. But someone has to take that step in every single city and in every single country. We got to get back to old school things in music like DJs, right? DJs who actually want to break music or want to expose people to music. One of our problems is that industry is breaking down all over the world because everybody wants to be a star. No one wants to play their role. People don't want to be managers and DJs and publicists. Those are all the things that make music go. So if we restore DJs and managers and those things, those are like ligaments on a body. If you look at music or African music as one body, a body has to have a brain, but it also has to have ligaments and tendons and bones and all those other things. We need a complete industry. But with that are what you see is Simon playing his role. Festivals, music festivals, but making sure that those festivals incorporate all of Africa and the entire diaspora. I love what you guys said earlier on this OneMicShow. When we first started talking, you were talking about African and you said anybody black. I love that because everything has to be about building bridges. If we start to alienate people who are black but not born in Africa, or black Americans, or if we start separating ourselves into 500 different categories, we're going to have a problem. There has to be one category which is African and is black. And so to answer your second question, which was your original when it comes to the MADARAKA Festival, I've watched this festival grow from a baby. I remember the first one, and it was dope. It was at this place called the EMP, which is one of the premier museums in the Northwest. The museum is so phenomenal. It is where Dr. Dre and Eminem launched their tour. Their first show on their tour was at the EMP Museum to a sold-out crowd. And so when Simon went there, I thought he was being a little bit I thought he might have been biting off a little more than he can chew. But you know what? The community really responded and people came out and it was sold out and it was packed out and it was an amazing crowd. And it set the tone for MADARAKA to continue to build bridges every single year. What's dope about this festival is you don't know what you're going to hear. It's not just trendy, right? Like, we all love Afrobeat, like I said, but the industry loves to get very trendy, right? Where you hear one style of music, then everybody does that same style over and over and over. But with MADARAKA Festival, you're going to hear so many different styles of African music. It's beautiful. Someone might play a flute. Someone might play a guitar. Someone might play an instrument you've never heard of, right? And that's what's beautiful about it. It's everything from acoustic music to synthesized music, right? And that all of that is in Africa. We play electric instruments, but we also play acoustic instruments or traditional instruments that don't have microphones and speakers and all those other things. So I just love the festival because it feels like a marketplace. There's food, there's African food, African culture, African clothing. And it's just continuing to level the playing field for African artists across the continent.
Okay, thank you so much, Dre's. And I think Anthony dropped off. We're gonna get to Anthony once.
Lack of bundles.
Okay, lack of bundles.
He hasn't paid his bill.
Maybe he's on Safaricom.
Probably.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna get back to Anthony when like when he gets back. But then a few more comments have been coming through. While we're having this conversation. So Gashambi just wants us to talk about Madaraka, the tickets, the parking, people, where people can buy the tickets, and we're of course going to get to that. Remember, it's at MADARAKAfestival.com. It's very simple. Everything is there. All the instructions are there, and that simplicity, I think, is something that that other people in the industry, other promoters can learn. Because sometimes, with certain events, you have to jump through hoops to get a ticket. You're told, wait for this cash app, or no, send it on PayPal. Apana, no, just give me cash. Those days are gone. Let's have this simplicity. And the good thing about these platforms is that even people outside our circle, it could be a white person who's just looking for an African event to go to. They can hit Google and land on that. That's what I like about, the whole digital environment that One Vibe Media has, making it easier for someone to know where the events are, who's performing, how much the tickets are. No surprises, no weird surprises. Wait for the tickets or wait at the door, it's gonna be how much. No such thing. So a couple of comments, that were coming through while we were having this conversation. I see here Washeke, when we're having the conversation about the cults in Kenya. Washeke was saying, I don't know why Kenyans are shocked when the government has been in bed with cult leaders. That's going to be in the social segment. We're going to talk about that.
We don't want to take care of ourselves in a way that we can discern when we are being taken for a ride, And also, when you think about it, in Kenya, we have more churches than schools, We have more churches than creative hubs, than rehearsal spaces. So the result is, while, it's important to be faithful and, and to be prayerful, it's also very important that we have our own relationship with God, direct relationship with God, because having somebody else that you have to go through in order to have a relationship with God is a problem, because a tree has a relationship with God. They don't have a pastor, a lion has a relationship with God. All of us were created by God, all living things, So then we have to ask ourselves, why are we following these individuals that are driving on very fancy cars, helicopters, while we are suffering? Why are we giving them, if you look at the story of Pastor Mackenzie, there's a lady that left her job with one of the biggest airlines and sold everything and gave everything to this pastor that now has been murdering hundreds of people. So we just have to question ourselves, and Dre's also can speak about this because Dre's is a man of faith.
Before Dre's comes, in, let me say this. I think there's always, some people make memes and stuff. So I think you've seen this meme that goes around where a person came and handed the Bible, and I think they took title deeds or they took land.
Mm-hmm.
So religion is the opium of the masses, and if and when effectively used, it was actually effectively used during the emergency in 1952. It was effectively used. And also tradition has it, like even over here, how when the white man came here, what they did, to the natives, they bring this disease and then they show them that they're the only ones they're the only ones who can cure who can cure them. Yeah. I think it was this guy, was it Colombo? This guy who supposedly discovered the Americas or whatever. You know,
Christopher Columbus.
he knew exactly, I think, when there was going to be the full moon or the half moon or whatever moon, and in 2 weeks, and he said, in 2 weeks I'll be back here because I'll show you that my God is even stronger. But he knew how to read he could tell, you know, like in a few weeks or whatever. Yeah, he could tell that within a certain time this was going to happen. It's going to be a red moon or whatever it is, and that in that way, these guys, you know, they ended up giving them food and supplies and stuff. So I think religion has been used to oppress, and I'll leave it at that, especially in Kenya.
Yes, and of course this is go ahead, Dre's.
I want to say something in that we have to remember everything is about balance, right? You can't throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? Like religion comes with cults. That's going to be a part of it. But there's a lot of things that are cults, right? There are political parties that are literally cults. There are companies that are literally cults because of the way people follow them. I think we just have to create balance and start to get people to understand, as Simon was saying, you need your own relationship with God. And when you have a religious leader, balance is about not worshiping them. What you refuse to hold accountable is something called worship, right? Worship comes into play when you can't hold something accountable. I don't get to hold God accountable, right? That's because I worship him. But I should be able to hold my religious leaders accountable. And we have to stop getting to this point where we worship religious leaders, right? They have an ability and a gift, and that should be valued, because there are a ton of really great religious leaders, but there are a ton of bad ones. And then we have to change our definition of success. Simon was talking earlier about how we love success. Well, why does success have to equal money, right? Why don't we change the definition of what is success? Jesus didn't walk around rich, right? He could have been, but because he understood the definition of success can't be, we think that success equals validation of God. And so we follow these men and women of God who have a lot of money, right? And we think, well, they must be validated by God because they have money. That's completely hogwash, and it's the opposite. So I just think I don't think that uneducating people is the right way. I think we have to educate people more and more what to look for and to know that there are always going to be predators. But I don't think we need to throw out the baby with the bathwater, because there's been a lot of good that has come through faith as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dre's. And we just want to take a different, a different trajectory here. And Simon, I want to come back to you here. And I want to ask you, maybe, where have the hiccups come when it comes to East African music in the U.S.? And when I say East, I also mean Central African and South African and all these other genres outside Afrobeat. Where did the hiccups hit us? Because we seem to be ahead, especially in East Africa, Kenya specifically. We seem to be ahead, in the game in the early to mid 2000s. We had so many different Kenyan acts, touring back to back. Sometimes you would even have different artists here at the same time in different cities. But at some point, we kind of stalled as we watched our brothers, deservedly in the West rise to very high levels. Where did we in the East, where did we drop the ball, or maybe where did we miss the boat?
Thank you so much. Dres actually answered this question earlier, where he spoke about the idea of some people not wanting to play their part. We have in the industry, we have DJs, we have festival producers, we have companies that should actually be committed to financing this kind of tours, and then we have influencers who have platforms like yours, who should do exactly what you're doing now. We have people like DJ Sani and people like Ida, people like Suga Shambi, who know the value of creating a voice for our artists and our culture here in the diaspora. So when we come together, when we unite, I think that's what's missing. Now, I want to refer to the West African artists, because that's what I think they have that we don't have. For example, I've worked with a lot of West African artists who have also headlined MADARAKA. But before MADARAKA, like 8 months before MADARAKA, they travel by themselves and their managers to Seattle. And they meet with me, they buy all the meals, and they just say, we want to learn about MADARAKA. They don't even say we want to perform at MADARAKA. They value relationships, you know. But Kenyan artists, Ugandan artists, Tanzanian artists don't do that, you know. So I think that's a big difference, you know.
Now let's pause there. Yeah. Let's pause there because I want us to, you know, like drill down on this. Is there a reason why they don't do it? Because, I mean, if they know this is what's needed to be done to get successful, is there maybe a reason that we're overlooking as to why they're not doing it?
I think for me, number one, ego and stardom. You know, like I was saying, everybody wants to be like these people. So when you want to tell someone who is worshipped, you know, that look, you actually need to disguise yourself and just come and meet people, travel at your own cost and invest in relationships, you know. Don't do a show, just do a reconnaissance, you know, like a trip where you're connecting with venues, you're connecting with promoters, you're connecting with studios, you're building a tour schedule for yourself so that you know that every August I'm in Seattle, every September I'm in Vancouver, every December I am in Toronto. You know, I know Ghanaian artists personally who have a schedule like that, you know, and whenever you don't have them in the lineup, they're not mad at you. They call you, they tell you, I know you're doing the festival, you're doing a good job, I'll come, you know, and they come and they show up. When they come, they want to do anything, you know. So I just feel that what is missing is relationships, the value of relationships, you know. I remember I was saying earlier that I was raised by a second wife in a polygamous marriage. I remember real preachers. I grew up around real preachers, you know, preachers who are working on food, preaching, you know. They were spending nights in our store, like a store that we had in our house. And they were always building relationships with their congregation and showing up when people are in need. And they did that all over the country. You find that these preachers are still respected today. When I go to certain places around Kenya, I'll use the names of people who died a long time ago, and I'll get accommodation, I'll get food. That's how West African artists, you know, for example, the children of Fela Kuti, when they come to Seattle, they look for keyboard players that played with their dad, you know. So they're not coming to new places. You have to build relationships, you have to build bridges. And I'm telling you, there are few artists in Kenya who are doing that. And many people might not know, but I think Sauti Sol are really good at that. You know, Sauti Sol have been to Kisumu in Manyata, where we do this work with One Vibe Africa. They've eaten in the ghetto, in corners where nobody will know that they come to. So I think Sauti Sol are a good example of that. You know, I'll just stop there, but I want to say that when we look at Kenya, Sauti Sol are a good example of that. But I think Dres has something to add here.
Let me also say, because I think I want to piggyback what Simon is saying. It's also, it sounds like a very similar to conversation to what we have in Southern Africa. We're having this conversation. Why are our artists not connecting? It's also about lifting one another up, right? When you have this fight amongst yourselves to be the first one to make it out, or I want to be the one to blow up, right? Or then you stop working together. When you look at Nigeria, they all help each other out. Even here, I live in LA right now, and the biggest Afrobeat clubs, even the Amapiano clubs, are all run by Nigerians, right? And they all work together. And the top Nigerian guys in Seattle are now working with the Nigerian guys here in LA. And so they're building a network where they all work together and they support one another. They play each other's music. They help each other. It can't always be about numbers. It can't always be, let's say one Kenyan artist reaches out to another and the first guy has 500,000 followers and the other guy has 20,000. Well, the first guy doesn't want to work with the second because he doesn't have as many numbers as him. It shouldn't be about that. It should be, do you like the music? right? If the music is good and it's about the culture and the art, then that's how you're going to level up universally. In hip hop, we had this thing way back in the day where it was the East Coast and the West Coast in America, but then Atlanta blew up. And we're now living in the time where Atlanta is huge. Well, how did Atlanta blow up? They blew up the same way Nigeria is blowing up. Atlanta blew up because T.I., who was a platinum rapper, would do a verse with somebody who wasn't even huge. And we were like, man, how did T.I. do that? Because they had this thing that they called Southern hospitality, and they worked together. I think what Simon is saying, there's a level of hospitality and relationship building that they do with each other and with others that allows them to recognize that there's enough room at the table for everybody. And as long as we keep that mindset, nothing can stop the culture. I will say, lastly, this one part that we didn't add in there, at the end of the day, this is still music marketing. And in order to make it, it also takes a hot song or something. And let's just be honest, West Africa just hit a wave. Sometimes you hit a wave, man. A couple people pop, and once it pops, that's it. It opens the door, and then there's just a wave because your sound becomes the sound that the world embraces. And so, honestly, there's a certain level of this where in South Africa, we have to level up. I'm a piano starting to pop, but we got to create sounds that catch around the world. And then once your sound catches, then you have to open the door and let a bunch of artists run through it.
But there is, just to add to that, the danger in Afrobeat being where it is now is that it's going to be diluted. It's actually being diluted by the radio. And the value of it is going to go away very fast, Well,
let me say this to you, Simon, and that's why MADARAKA is so dope, because this is the problem with the industry, this thing I call the system or the industry. The industry finds one sound and then it mass produces it and dilutes it until it's like wringing out a towel, until there's no value in it. And so that's the concern with Afrobeat, is that they're going to mass produce it. And then you're going to start seeing white Afrobeat artists and all these other things. And so to your point, Simon, MADARAKA Festival and festivals like this are so crucial because you're bringing to the forefront music that is not just Afrobeat. You're bringing African music across the board to the table. And that is how we maintain and preserve the value, but African music's dominance around the world.
Wow. This right here is one of those historical moments. Remember, we're talking about, journalism and podcasting being the first draft of history. I think a lot of people are going to be listening to what Dre said and what Simon just said, especially about the relationship building part, which is quite important. And also the fact that you just hit a wave does not mean that you're going to stay there forever. The one thing that worries me, with all the growth that I see with Afrobeats, is the fact that there's a lot of other people. Yes, the artists are doing amazing. They're doing great. But the ecosystem, I had some Nigerian and some Ghanaian DJs who broke Afrobeats in the US complaining that this train left and it kind of left them behind, the people who made the genre big here. So it's kind of like, when you have a nice car, there's a lot of people who are involved in getting that car to move. So we want to try and get that whole ecosystem. We want all Africans to eat, from the producers, from the guys who are doing the lights, from the guys who are doing the event, from the guys who are doing the stage. But that's slowly slipping away. It's slowly slipping away. And you notice that a lot of these events are now being, mastered by just mainstream American companies. And the people who created Afrobeat here are being left outside. I don't know, Simon, whether you see it the same way I'm seeing
just
it.
To add, there are little that is related to last year's MADARAKA festival. Dre's will relate to what I'm about to say, because his DJ is also one of the dopest Afrobeat DJs here in Seattle that DJs for KEXP, which is one of the biggest radio stations in the US and also in the world. And KXP is one of the sponsors of MADARAKA Festival. They will be broadcasting the MADARAKA Festival tour at all the cities where we are going. DJ Les Cadence is the one I'm speaking about. Shout out to him. Les Cadence interviewed D'banj, who is one of the fathers of Afrobeat. And one of the questions Les Cadence asked D'banj during their interview was, how does he feel that people that benefited from his sweat, like Burna Boy, are now making more money than him, are now doing well than him? And his answer was really profound to me. He said that for him, he's just happy that he gets to live and see his vision come to life, you know? He sees the success of Afrobeat as a vision that he had, and it has come to life when he's still alive to see it. A lot of East African artists, you know, don't see that. They're not willing to let their visions outlive them, you know? There is a rush to make as much money from every opportunity as possible. You know, there's a rush to negotiate. You know, like I was saying earlier, the amazing West African artists that I've worked with, Grammy-winning artists, that sometimes they don't even get paid half of what a Kenyan artist who is not even known here in the US is asking for, you know? So it's not about how popular you are in Kenya or in the Kenyan community or in the Ugandan or Zimbabwean community. It's about how much you're willing to build lasting relationships and to build legacy. You know, music is about legacy. That's why people like Sauti Sol, they still play Daudi Kabaka inspired music. They still infuse Zilizopendwa, you know, rumba and benga in their music, you know. And we don't have a generation of musicians who are willing to build a strong foundation like people like D'banj and Fela Kuti put in place.
Okay.
Can I add one thing also?
Sure.
Just to what you said earlier, Ali. I thought it was really, I thought the question was really profound around essentially Afrobeat and other musics moving forward, but many of the people and the pioneers who created it or who are lifting it up being left behind. I think it's also crucial for us. It's like if someone was running for office, we have to watch who we vote for, right? Because that person who becomes our next governor or our next president is going to make decisions on our behalf. I think it's the exact same when it comes to music. We have to watch who we lift up. Me and my boys have this saying, there's a difference in leading blacks and black leaders, right? Just because someone is a leading black and they have a big name, that's probably not who you want to follow. But a black leader is someone who's not going to forget where they came from. There's a reason I work with Simon. The reason I work with Simon is because I know who he is through and through as a man. And so Simon and I have a covenant, a unspoken relationship where we understand if I pop, I'm going to hold down MADARAKA Festival. As MADARAKA Festival pops, it's going to pull me up. And so when I say there's a difference in leading blacks and black leaders, as a people, we have to stop putting artists and blowing up artists who just want to be leading blacks, meaning they want to be rich, have money, be famous, and be, but that doesn't make you a leader. A real leader is never going to forget those who helped them. It's never going, there's, even as black people as a whole, we have to start to even push back against the concepts that are coming against our village and our community and the village mindset community, right? It's about one and a whole and building a stronger whole. So to me, that can happen, but if we do a better job of lifting up the right artists, then we're going to start to see, we're just going to start to see the people who created the art forms and who got it to this point not be left behind.
You know what? Let me say this. I think there's some sort of vindication that we are currently facing right now here in the studio and as the OneMicShow.
Yes. I didn't want to say that.
No, we are getting vindicated very well. Wow. And it's even a conversation that we've not even had with Simon or Dre's.
Maybe you should have Mika be the champion of this conversation, that the direction you're headed.
because before Mika comes in, I think we have repeatedly said we can all lift each other, especially musicians, and that is part of the reason why sometimes we just play East African music, sometimes specifically Kenyan music, just so that we can create that platform. Let us just create that platform. We play the music people have never heard, give you something different. Like Dre said, it's not always it has to be the same thing. You know, go out, venture out, because music is not a monolith. It's
diverse.
Wide, it's diverse. You know, and when Dre is talking about supporting one another, you know, and I think we mentioned this, and probably if I'm not wrong, maybe it's Enraf at one point said, you know, like even in Kenya, if Ali is having a concert or something, artists, not many artists are gonna go for that just to show up and just to support.
Yeah.
Right? If Ali is having something, he's having a spoken word, whatever, mashairi, whatever it is, you know, what would be nice is if all the people in the industry who can make it, they go there to support, if it's an album launch, whatever it is. But just that way to support, like Dres was saying, you know, or I think even Simon, you know, like the Nigerians, they just support one another.
And they come.
And you actually, Ali, I've heard you say sometimes you don't really see them beefing and itching each other out on Twitter.
No.
Even if they may have disagreements.
They go talk privately.
They talk privately. Yeah. But on the outside, they stand as one.
Yeah, they stand as one. And this is what I think that we all need to learn. You know, like we may have our differences, we may have our disagreements for whatever reason. But let's not publish them for the world to see. Because that's a mistake that I see sometimes within our community, whereby people have private differences and they can't publish them for the world to see. Because you see, the world that we live in right now is that all this content that we are creating, whether it's on the OneMicShow or whether it's just a post that you're putting up on social media.
Right.
This is a first draft to history. Your grandchildren are going to come to see it. So when you're lying to them that, you know, oh, I was this, I was that, they'll be like, no, granddad, you were here beefing with everyone plus their grandmothers when you were our age. So don't tell us anything. So that's why I keep telling people, whenever there's a difference, you know, like just feel free, you know, like text someone. Let the person tell you that they don't want to talk to you. But bringing them, you know, like in public sometimes just exposes us to the world. Because even other people from outside, maybe who wanted to work with us, they will silently see this and say, no,
nope, never.
We don't want to work with these people. Sometimes you may go to a show, maybe the air conditioner wasn't at 68 degrees. Maybe it was at 72 degrees or 73 degrees. And you want to publish that. You want to ignore all the nice music that you had, all the positives. The one slight thing, you know, maybe you went to the restrooms and maybe they were not up to par, but you want to highlight that. And then what happens when you highlight that small negative thing is that people who are even not at the concert are gonna pick it up from you and gonna start talking about it like they were actually there. Then it gets amplified. So anything good that happened there, it's negative. You know, it gets taken out. Let me tell you something. Nigerians have had shows that failed. But guess what?
You won't hear that.
You
much.
never get to know about them.
You may hear somebody never showed up for a concert.
Yeah.
Or something. But
you never.
It doesn't make a wave.
You never see it making a wave, you know, like, yeah. So these things happen, you know, like live events, you know, things happen sometimes. Someone does not show up on time or someone doesn't. But whenever, you know, like with the Nigerians, like when it happens, you never do it. But whenever they do something small positive, it's everywhere. Yeah. And this is where I keep telling people, if Nigerians were winning marathons like Kenyans were winning, let me tell you, everyone would know about these marathons.
They would all have our T-shirts. They'd be wearing our track suits. We would have Nikes named after us.
Yes. So this is something that I think we can learn from them. I want to get Mika. Mika is part of the set remotely. He's been listening keenly, and he also has some points to add and some questions to ask. Mika.
Welcome to the OneMicShow.
Hey, good evening, fellas.
Party people.
Hi, good evening, fellas.
Sawa, ongea, bro.
Okay, go ahead.
Man.
Jeez. We told you not to air it in the public.
Violence. No, don't air our private.
But
we've just talked about it.
You just said it right now.
See us behind the tent after the show.
Go
ahead.
Anyway, hey, Simon. Long time no see. Last time I think I saw you was in Clubhouse. back in 2021 when you are holding your African folk stories rooms, which is a very interesting room. And hi, Dre's. I have a question for you guys, and this one is in relation to what we've been discussing right now. What we've been discussing about what's affecting East African and South African music in the US. Now, Simon, you the diaspora artist, and Dre's you as a son of a diaspora artist, and also you, as much as you're American, you can consider yourself a diaspora artist when it comes to African music. What role do us, the fans, the diaspora fans, have to do? You guys have spoken about what the artists need to do. Now, what about us? I've seen my co-hosts here have touched on about the negativity that somebody might be able to put out about a show and how it affects that. But what other role can we play in growing of our music? Because I know one of the most things you'll hear people saying, especially is that Kenyans saying, is that Kenyans don't produce nice music, or they will say that the music is not in English, the music is in Chang. I cannot understand that. But then you turn around and you find them vibing to a piano song sung in Zulu, the whole song, or vibing to a Nigerian song that has been sung in Hausa or Igbo, the whole song. And you ask them, so do you understand? So what role as artists can you ask us in the diaspora to play in making our songs cross the border?
Des, do you want to go for this, or should I jump in and then you come after?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll jump after you.
Yeah, thank you, Mick, again for your support. And nice to hear your voice again. I would say that, for the fans, for the people that consume music, I would say show up. Number one, show up when an artist or an event organizer or a festival producer organizes an event like MADARAKA. If you can't show up by buying your ticket or being there physically, share the content. Engage with the content, because many of us, when we look at this economically, many of us, where we spend our money, this is something that Drez is very passionate about, and he's done a lot of work with Muhammad Ali's daughter in bringing money to the Black community. Where you spend your money is very important. That means that the music you listen to, it's being streamed as you are listening to it, and somebody's making money. Who is that is making money? The shows that you go to, somebody's making money. Who is that is making money? Is that money going to circulate in your own community? Is that money going to end up in Africa somehow? You have to ask yourself this question. The clubs that you go to, is it benefiting your community? Could it employ somebody in your community in the future? So we need to ask ourselves these questions as fans, and then do we want to see African festivals around? If we do, then we have to show up. We have to invest in them. Sometimes it's only one ticket. I was really impressed by a DJ here in Seattle, a very less known DJ. He bought 10 tickets to the Seattle show. And he said, look, I want to give 5 away, but 5 are mine, for my people. And I was really surprised. And I told him, I want your phone number. I want us to be friends, because for me, I want to invest in what he's doing. Because he showed me that, look, what you're doing is important. I don't know you very well, but this is what I'm going to do right now to invest in what you're doing. So really, it's about showing up and investing in what is important.
Okay.
I would also say, I would add to that, it's really important to try to create a culture of sharing, right? How do we cultivate culture? Because when you start talking about fans, there's a fine line between me as an artist manipulating your fandom. See, as an artist, I believe that music touches a fan, right? You play me one song, I love it. You play me the next song, I can't stand it, right? I still need to have the right to like whatever song I want to like. And I think I, as an artist, want to protect your ability to like whatever you like, right? Whatever it is you like, if you like it, you like it. You don't even have to know why you like it. I just like it, right? You don't owe me nothing. If I play a flute, if I hit a stick on a tin can and you like it, you have a right to like it. So I think that's the first thing as an artist I think has to be protected. But at the same time, I have to place a demand on you when you say, well, what should we do? You got to be active in creating a culture of sharing music. Where is that? You have to be active in creating a culture that is being intentional about supporting, like people who go to church. We were talking earlier about church members, and I have family members who go to church. Man, they go to church on Sunday. They go on Wednesday for Bible study. They go on Thursday. They go Friday. They are being intentional about going to the singles fellowship and supporting the pastor's anniversary. That's not natural. You're being intentional about it. So I think as fans, particularly African music fans, we have to be intentional in saying, you know what, this year I'm going to go to 5 music festivals that are African music based. Why? I want to be intentional. But with my going, I'm also going to hold the promoters like Simon and myself and everybody else who does festivals. You also have to hold the promoters accountable. Don't let them just bring any old artist. If you're going to an African music festival and every year it's WizKid and Burna Boy and you want to see somebody else, you have to write them and tell them, hey, this is great, but we want to see some other bands, right? And you'd be surprised how many of these promoters would really show up. So I would say be intentional, be consistent, be active at essentially creating a culture of sharing music amongst one another, because that's how music's going to grow. People are going to get music from actual fans, actual people more than they are. I mean, television and stuff like that will do it, but I get my music from friends. As an example, today I found out that I'm a hip-hop guy, so I found out a new hip-hop album came out today. I found out from a friend who sent me a text message and was like, man, the first 4 songs on this are hot. I didn't even know it was out. And so I went to go listen to it. That's how music grows, through personal sharing.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Some of indication.
Yes, I know. You know, like on the One Mic Show for a very long time, we've been trying to. You've articulated it so well. Maybe we just didn't have the right words, and we've gotten
seen as haters.
Yes, we've gotten in trouble. We've gotten into a lot of trouble, you know, for doing this. You know, like where we would, you know, just and we're not the type of people who would go and, you know, like post something on social media. These are people, you know, like the people who run, you know, like events within the Kenyan, they're all people we know. So they're people that we can easily reach and that we can easily talk to. And sometimes, you know, like we don't see value in, you know, like doing something in public when I can directly go talk to Simon and just tell Simon, hey, Simon, that artist you brought, you know, like last year, I mean, I wasn't really feeling him, you know, like I can easily do that. And I know if it was an issue with maybe the sound or anything, Simon is gonna fix it. That's better than, you know, like going on Instagram or on Facebook or on TikTok and publishing like, oh my God, look at what has happened here. So we are glad that this voice is coming from someone else, because, you know, like when maybe a different sound as this, it hits differently. But now we want to come straight to the MADARAKA Festival, to the events that are coming up next month. You know, like next month is just in 2 or 3 days. So Simon, tell us, you know, like what to expect. You know, we've already on MADARAKAFestival.com where you can get the tickets. It's been announced that the events are going to be in New York, in Dallas, in Seattle, and in Atlanta, you know, in those 4 places. So tell us what to expect. And there's some people from other cities who are asking, like we here in the DMV, you know, like
by the way, DMV was skipped.
Yes, so it was conveniently skipped. We feel like we're the capital and we deserve something, you know, like we deserve something here. So maybe tell us if something is in the cooking, and maybe just tell us what to expect on this upcoming festival in the month of May. Simon.
Thank you so much. So I have to say that this is the first national festival here in the US that I'm producing. That, you know, national tour. I've never done this kind of thing before. So you know, Dre's and I were talking long before the announcement was done, and then we made adjustments as the rollout of the promo was happening. We made a lot of adjustments. You know, with this tour, we had an opportunity to do 11 shows. You know, 11 cities, you know, through the partnership we have with Live Nation, but we scaled down as we were looking at the resources that we were accessing, and we scaled down to now the 4 shows that we are doing. So really, if you look back at the history of MADARAKA Festival, the people who are going to attend, the fans, you know, who are of very diverse backgrounds, you know, you should expect to go home happy and tired and joyful, you know, and for the people who do the kind of work you do, the journalists, the media creators, expect to live with really beautiful images of you know, of our people having a great time. We spend a lot of time in the details, you know, making sure the bands that back all the artists rehearse. We've been rehearsing since January. You know, shout out to the One Vibe band. You know, we ensure that the artists that we are working with, we have a relationship. You know, you see how on short notice, Anthony and Dre's left everything that they were doing in order to show up for this interview. So, you know, we just want you to come and support and know that you're not just showing up to, you know, a show as usual. You're actually creating change in East Africa. You know, the education, music, and art program that One Vibe has been doing in Kisumu, Kenya is growing. Now we are partnering with a program in Uganda and in Tanzania. And as we speak, we have a 40-foot container that we're filling with music instruments and production gears here in Seattle, Washington. In Germany, we just shipped another 13 pallets of gears, you know, guitars and microphones and all sorts of things that arrived in Kisumu about 2 weeks ago. The German ambassador in Kenya was in Kisumu to deliver these things himself, you know. So we are doing real work. The festival is just the vehicle for us to expand the work that we're doing. So if you want to make a difference in your community and in Africa, if you want to work with real people who are doing real work, you know, we are building a platform that is going to outlive us. You know, my hope is that our children and our great grandchildren can continue doing MADARAKA Festival because, you know, as you were all speaking about, you know, the challenges that we face where our people out each other publicly, I was thinking about, you know, how in this country, even being black is already hard. You know, if you're a black business owner, it's very hard for you. If you're a black artist, it's very hard for you. And so if you start fighting each other, the other people that already have a hard time with your existence, when they see you fighting and weakening each other, they just laugh because the battle is already won for them. So for me, I am in this for the long haul. And if you want to be involved, we are looking for volunteers as well, you know, because this work is not easy, you know. So we are always looking for volunteers to be involved with the production aspect of the event, you know. I want to just quickly give a shout out to some of the incredible people that have been involved with making this work happen. Teacher Wanjiku, Eric Omondi, Owago Nyiro, Suga Shambi, Nas Judy, Gary Wainaina from Kenya Americani. Outside of the artists, there are people, influencers and comedians and community leaders that sometimes people just call you from nowhere and they ask you, how are you doing, you know? So I want to give a shout out to Need Media, led by Austin UN, we are producing an Amazon special, you know. So this whole tour, we are filming it, and we are going to be taking that film to Amazon Prime. So, you know, many people will just see MADARAKA Festival, but we are creating a musical album. There's so much happening in the behind the scene that many people will not know. But our goal is that after every tour, we have a film on Amazon that you can watch, and we are diversifying our revenue stream so that it will get to a place where the tickets for Madaraka will be very cheap because we have multiple revenue streams, you know. And really shout out to our sponsors, you know, Alaska Airlines, Amazon, Certified Homes Limited, especially for Kenyans, by the way. We are partnering with this company that is literally, allowing people in the diaspora to build homes and buy land in Kenya. So for every show we are doing, this company is going to be giving away a piece of land, you know. So for every one of these shows, during the show,
Kafuroti.
Yeah, floaty. So, we have 5 plots to give away during this tour. So for every show, we're giving away a plot. You know?
But you only have 4 shows. So where is the 5th plot going to be given?
Give the 5th one to the OneMicShow.
The OneMicShow.
The show we haven't. Well, let's talk about the shows we haven't announced.
Okay. Talk about the shows that have been announced and the ones that have not been announced, because I think those are the ones.
And the ones that you're thinking of announcing, because
there are things I can't talk about publicly.
Okay.
But there are things that are bubbling, you know. First of all, shout out to DJ Sistuki, who was here earlier, and Ida Aisha. They've been supporting behind the scene, and they're influencing some of the shows that we'll be announcing in the coming weeks. And also in the DMV, there are a lot of people who are influencing potential shows in the DMV. But we do have a show that is confirmed that we haven't announced to the public on June 1st. That one is going to be at the waterfront, at the Seattle waterfront, where Madaraka happened last year. One of the most beautiful venues that we've ever had.
I saw the videos from there. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, it's going to be an album, listening party where we will listen to the Madaraka album that we are recording currently and during the tour. But also we will sample music from Dreze's album, music from Sauti Sol's album, and we are doing it in partnership with the Grammy Academy. We are going to have board members of the Academy there. One of the DJs touring with us is also the board chair for the Global Grammy Academy. He's from Cameroon, but he lives in Los Angeles. His name is Freddie Mooks. So
tell him to start voting for Kenyan artists when he's voting. Go ahead.
Yeah, the thing is, we are trying to bring Kenyan artists to the same table with these people, you know, so that it's a no-brainer when voting time comes.
Yes. Yeah, the Grammys there's a formula for the Grammys, and if there's any Kenyan artists who are watching, there's a formula. You have to know there is a formula. You don't just get a Grammy. There is a formula.
Yeah, I think the biggest formula is relationships, to tell you the truth.
That's exactly it.
Yeah, relationships, and that's why I'm a member of the academy too, the Northwest chapter of the Grammy Academy, and a lot of it begins with being a member and then being a voting member.
Correct.
And so the idea is, as we are here with these artists, we want to put them together with these people and produce with the same producers that produce for the Grammy Award-winning artists. And for example, Drez, he's probably making a lot of money by being a TV music producer. Drez is an Emmy Award winner. He just won an Emmy last year. So bringing people like Drez with our artists, I think just creating the ecosystem, like one of you mentioned, is what we are trying to do. But I just want to say thank you, because I have to go and become a father now in a moment. I just want to express my gratitude to you, Brother Ali, and your team, Omosh and Mika. And I'll let Drez maybe speak a little before I have to run. But I'm extremely grateful, my brothers.
Okay. All right. Now, before you run, we're going to let Drez speak. And then there's one last question we have for you before you run. Drez.
You know what? I just wanted to say the festival is amazing. It always has been, always will be. You don't really know what you're going to expect from one year to the next, right? But I can tell you that it's going, I know a little bit about the cities that are going to be added. I wish I could say something. Simon won't let me. But we're coming.
Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, man.
We won't tell him.
We won't tell him.
You want to tell him?
No, I won't tell him.
Tutatoa kitu kidogo. Kunywa chai. Tutakupatia chai.
Yeah, but I just, all jokes aside, man, the festival is going to really, really be amazing. MADARAKA Festival is always something to behold. And so I'm excited to hit the stage. I will be on there bringing, I play the full orchestra of marimbas, but I can't bring them all on tour. But there's going to be marimbas, there will be mbitas, whole show, all of the traditional Zimbabwean instruments. I'm trying to bring a complete experience to people so that they get a chance to hear not just Southern Africa, but specifically Zimbabwean music, right? And to feel our energy and what we contribute musically. So I just tell people everywhere, man, if you're thinking about a show, this is the one you do not want to miss this year if it's rolling through your city. If it's not in your city and you're like 100 miles away, you should hop in the car, nice little road trip, go on down there. The same way people do for Coachella. It's worth it, man. This is going to be like the African Coachella traveling through America, so it's going to be ill. I'm looking forward to it.
There's a quick question before you leave. You leave. Do you have any work lined up with any Kenyan artists?
Do I have any what?
Do you have any music you're working on with any Kenyan artists?
I do have, I just got the mastering back from my album today. I do have a Kenyan artist on the album. I can't, I wish I could tell you guys who
That's
it was.
okay. It's okay. You can tell us. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
Just tell us.
Come on, Dre.
It's okay. This is family. It's family.
I know it is too.
Yeah.
We won't tell anyone. I mean,
I do have some, but I'm always open, man. I'm always making music, open to working with people. I get artists that hit me up all the time online. A lot of them want to do stuff because they want to be on television, which is cool. They're like, yo, we do a song. Can you get it on a television show? And I'm like, yeah, probably can. So let's do a song, right? So, but yeah, I'm always open to listening to artists. I don't really discriminate based on if you have 1 million followers or not. None of that matters to me. What really matters to me is art. And so is there a connection? Is it genuine? Do I like what you do? Do you like what I do? Or do you just want to utilize me to get an opportunity? I'm not interested in that. I'm more like, if you'll see when my album comes out, it's all artists that I really like, people I really love their music. And so there's a genuine connection. And then I'll have people who would just be like, oh, let's do something. I'm going to send you a beat. I'm like, well, you don't know what I'm vibing on right now. You don't know what I'm feeling. They're like, oh, let's do an Afrobeat song, or I'm a piano. Why? Why should we do that? Because that's what's popping right now. That's just not the way that I move. So I'm genuine. If there's a genuine connection artistically, I'm always open to working with artists. Send them my way.
Okay, so you're not going to tell us. So you're not going to tell us if the name of that artist starts with a K. You're not even going to tell us
or
that.
An N, or
maybe an
X.
N.
I think it starts. Is it a V, Dres?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. We know who that is.
Okay, all right.
All right.
We're not going to mention him.
It's a female.
We're not going to mention. We're not going to mention.
Better not be Vera Sedika.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
No.
We're not going to mention her.
It ain't that. So, Dres, you said you're gonna be doing Zimbabwean music during this, and it's marimba based, and you're really gonna be showcasing Zimbabwe. So, do you have women dancers in Sisal skirts?
I wish I did, man. I wish I did.
Dres, add it to your repertoire, brah.
I know. I need to.
All right.
But we'll have some surprises, man. Pull up.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. Yeah. So Simon, as we wrap up, because we know you have to go, just briefly tell us about the future, what you see coming up for MADARAKA Festival in the next 2-3 years, and partnerships that you can work with. We see you already have sponsorship from Amazon, Alaska Airlines, Microsoft, or whoever. Partnerships, like for example, like now you've connected with the OneMicShow. How is it that we can partner so that we also get to travel in this journey together, depending on, you know, like where you envision this. Simon.
Simon, before you go, let me just say one thing, guys. I gotta go, but I have had a blast talking with you guys. The One Mic Show is hella dope. I'm gonna tell all types of people about it. Keep rocking and rolling, people. If anybody anywhere in the world is looking for me, follow me online at the Dre's Experience. That's the DRAZE Experience. Peace and love, man. I'll see y'all on the road.
All right. Thank you so much, Dre's.
Thank you, Dre's.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dre's.
Yeah.
So partnerships. One of the partnerships that we haven't announced is with the Kenyan consulate here in the US. Big up to Big Ted, who is really supporting behind the scene. And soon you guys are going to see a lot of his own effort, you know, coming out. And also, you know, I have a deep desire to involve the Kenyan government, especially Magical Kenya, because Madaraka Festival actually inspired the Tanzanian government to hire me as a consultant for a festival they're trying to do here in the US called Serengeti Festival.
Wow. You know? Okay.
Yeah.
That's news.
Watcha.
They are investing heavily in promoting Tanzania here, because most of their tourism money comes from the Pacific Northwest, the region where we are. So if you go to the Seattle Sounders game, you find Visit Tanzania, big, big.
Remember the Tanzania effect with the Seattle, the football team.
The Seattle Sounders.
No, the football team.
Exactly.
The NFL team. They also had a big, even...
the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks. Even Richard Sherman was talking about the Tanzania effect. They had a big Kilimanjaro
Is
sign
that
in the
why
stadium.
he was doing the thing with the president? When they did, at the time, yes, you remember the tour that he went with her?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but if you go on YouTube and find Tanzania effect, Richard Sherman, you'll see him talk about Tanzania a lot. Simon, back to you.
Yeah, so I met the Minister of Sports and Tourism and Culture for Tanzania here in Seattle, and we were in a boardroom meeting with him and the Executive Secretary for the Tanzania Arts Council. They invited Google, they invited leading festivals in the Pacific Northwest, and the reason they're positioning themselves, you know. And again, this is why I want to talk about the future of Madaraka. Madaraka, the reason we are making Madaraka a national festival is that we know that the World Cup is coming to the US in 2026. So our goal is to make Madaraka Festival a FIFA festival, you know.
Wow.
So we are already, you know, engaging with FIFA. We are talking to them, and we want to demonstrate that this is a true, authentic African festival. And part of that is why, you know, people like the Tanzanian government see value in what we are doing. I am the immediate former board president of Northwest Folklife Festival that has been around for over 50 years. And I've learned a lot in that role, and I've learned a lot about raising funds for festivals and growing festivals, and growing a festival that lasts for 100 years, you know. And so that's what I want to bring to our community, you know. This is something that I'm very passionate about. You know, I started producing events in high school and in the ghetto in Manyata. You know, organizing an event, a successful event in the ghetto is hard. And so I'm bringing those ghetto ideas and skills to the diaspora, but in a very professional and in a polished way. But I'm a very faithful person. I feel that the work I do is also how I worship the Most High, because if you do good work, good people come around it. And that's why I met with you, Ali. That's why a lot of the people I meet, like Dre's, a lot of the artists I work with, they're people who are deep believers in what they do. And I feel that Madaraka Festival is something that is going to be here for a long time. And, you know, I'm just hoping and praying that the right people continue, you know, coming our way. You know, again, as I said, I grew up in the slum, and I always just looked at Microsoft from far. I looked at Google from far. I looked at Amazon from far. But now these are people that we talk to directly, and there are many others we can't even talk about publicly. In New York, I'm talking to government officials. In Seattle, there are many government officials that support this work that we're doing because of the consistency we've had. Earlier you were asking me about how did we survive the pandemic. During the pandemic, we had the biggest MADARAKA festival that lasted for about 8 hours virtually. It was the biggest because we had artists from Brazil, Spain, Ghana, artists from all over the world that participated in the virtual MADARAKA festival, where we raised over $10,000. We raised over $10,000 for women in Mathare, Manyata, and Nyalenda slums. So we identified 500 women, but we were only able to get money to 106 women. We gave each of them $100 each, because women in the slum are like the last line of defense during a crisis like the pandemic, when women in the slum, especially those that sell food and charcoal and things in the slum, when they're out of business, the youths go crazy, because those are the women that hire them, those are the women that feed them. So if you want to see, chaos blow up, when these women run out of business, that's when you see problems coming up in community, especially in the slum. So we wanted to provide capital during the pandemic to these women. So we organized a long MADARAKA festival, 8 hours. Rocky Dauni from Ghana headlined it, but we had incredible artists that participated. So I would say that, for me, it's just about having faith in what you do, but also taking risks. Like many Kenyans here in the US, many Kenyans have multiple jobs. Many Kenyans work day and night in order to make a lot of money that they really never get to enjoy. A lot of us send money back home, and we never get to live in the houses that we are building, the magnificent homes that we are building, because we spend a lot of our time working for other people and having our dreams, on the back burner. For me, I'm doing this full time, and also I'm a full-time father, So I take being a father seriously, and I take pursuing my dreams seriously. And I don't have a lot of money, as many people who are probably watching this have, but I have a lot of connections. I have I have a big support system, and a lot of the things I do succeed because of that network of people that I've built in multiple sectors. And I'm very proud of that. I sleep really well because I hold my integrity and my values at a very high esteem. So I'm very patient, and I believe that what we're doing is purposeful work.
Okay,
Wow.
thank you so much. That was Simon Javan OKELO, MADARAKA Festival founder and CEO, One Vibe Media. Asante sana, and we're gonna get connected again as the festival comes closer.
And please add a local Kenyan artist to that lineup. That local Kenyan artists in the US, if you have any. I'm sure you're working on it.
Okay, sawa, like
Asante sana.
okay, all right, thank you so much. Okay, wow, that was this was such an amazing conversation.